Hollywood, the motion picture capital of the world, home to the biggest movie studios and where tens of thousands of movies have been made. But Hollywood wasn't always the center of the movie universe. Before Hollywood became Tinseltown and was just farmland, another city on the East Coast was the epicenter of the film industry. The first motion picture capital of the world was right across the Hudson River from New York City in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Thomas Edison and his assistant William Dickson at his West Orange, New Jersey laboratories developed some early motion picture technology that included the kinetograph, an early motion picture camera, and a movie projector called a kinetoscope. In 1893, on the same property as his laboratories, Edison built the first motion picture studio. And just like that, the New Jersey film industry was born. I visited a reproduction of the studio at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park. The purpose of the studio was to make film strips for these new inventions. Some of the first motion pictures ever to be copyrighted came from the studio, including Fred Ott's Sneeze, a quick 5-second black and white clip of one of Edison's assistants sneezing. I can't believe how wild it must have been for people to watch motion clips for the first time. It must have blown their minds. Edison's development of motion picture technology was the start of turning this area of New Jersey into the first motion picture capital of the world. In 1907, the first independent movie studio in the U.S. opened, called the Centaur Film Company of Bayonne. It was opened by David Horsley, along with his brother William. Edison had patents on all the movie production equipment, and the Horsleys didn't want to pay Edison a dime, so they would use self-made bootleg equipment to make their movies. Remember the Horsleys? We'll get back to them later. Land was a lot cheaper in New Jersey than in New York City, so it made financial sense to set up shop across the river for a lot of these aspiring movie studios. The Kaleem Company began using nearby Fort Lee as a location for filming, and shortly after, other filmmakers quickly followed. In 1909, the Champion Film Company built the first film studio in the Fort Lee area. They were quickly followed by others looking to get into this new emerging movie business. In the 1910s and the 1920s, many film companies were making films in Fort Lee. By 1918, there were numerous major studios in the area. Fort Lee experienced tremendous prosperity during this time. On top of all the studios, there were many offshoot businesses that sprung up to service the film studios. So why isn't Fort Lee still the center of the movie industry, like it was back in the early 1900s? The first reason was Thomas Edison. The person who brought the film industry to New Jersey was also the person who drove it out. Edison owned almost all the patents relevant to motion picture production, so he had a lot of control over the New Jersey film industry. If you made a movie, you either had to do business with him or be sued by him. Remember our friend David Horsley from earlier? Him and pretty much all the other studios were looking to get out from under Edison's thumb and those pesky patents and lawsuits. They were also looking to set up shop where the weather was a little bit nicer. At the time, natural sunlight was the best source of illumination for motion picture production. And what better place for sunlight than sunny Southern California? On top of the sunlight, the amazing weather allowed for filming all year round. An additional perk for studios to move to California was that thanks to lenient local courts and the physical distance from the East Coast, patent enforcement was a lot harder. Fort Lee never stood a chance. David Horsley created the Nestor Film Company, which was pretty much the West Coast production unit of the Centaur Film Company, and later merged with Universal. Horsley, looking for a place to put his new West Coast movie studio, was attracted to the Hollywood, California area because of its cheap land. He set up the first permanent movie studio in Hollywood with its picturesque backdrops in 1911. There were a few other studios in Los Angeles at the time, but this was the first one in Hollywood. Many of his New Jersey studio buddies followed, and by the 1930s, virtually all the filmmaking had shifted to the West Coast, turning Hollywood to what it is today. In recent years, New Jersey has been trying to get its crown back, with the announcement of several new movie studio deals. Who knows, maybe they'll become the motion picture capital of the world once again. Thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate it. Please subscribe for more historical videos. Take care.